Okay, so when I'm editing a file, you'll notice in a lot of my videos, I actually don't use my mouse all that much. And the nice thing about that is I can just keep my hands on my keyboard and I don't have to move around. So first things first is I use my arrow keys a lot. Up and down, left and right. When I'm on a new line, on a Mac at least, I hit Command and I can go left or right and just brings me to either end of that line. That just allows me to find, not find, but to place my cursor somewhere closer to where I want it to be. So if I wanted to change this R over here, instead of pressing and holding my arrow and then selecting it, what I could do is I could go over here and then I can hit Option, left, 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 and this moves word by word. And that's just a lot quicker than having to do this, just waiting for it to go from the left. Or if I'm already on the far right, pressing and holding. It's just left, 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 shift left or shift right to select a character or a series of characters, and then you can delete it if you wanted to. Now there's a lot of indenting in Python and HTML and JavaScript and PHP and CSS and pretty much every programming language and scripting language out there. And so sometimes you want to be able to indent and outdent pretty quickly. So what I like to do here is on my Mac, I hit Command and then one of these symbols. So either that one or that one. It's one of these two. So Command, left bracket, outdents, Command, right bracket, indents. And you can just keep doing this over and over and over again. And essentially, this just lets you select a bunch of text and outdent or indent all of it all at once. So what I did here was I went to this line, went to that P, hit Shift, down, 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 hit Command, out bracket, Command, in bracket, Command, out bracket, Command, in bracket. Now for in Windows, obviously you don't have a Command key. It is likely to be Control or Alt for you. I actually can't remember off the top of my head. I haven't been on a Windows machine in a little bit, but it's going to be Control bracket or Alt bracket. Now, another thing I like to do a lot is when I'm working with multiple pieces of code that are very, very similar, and I want to copy and paste a bunch of things, what you can do is you can select all of this, and you can do Control C or Command C, and that just copies it. And then you can do Control V or Command V as in violet, and that pastes the whole thing over and over and over again. But sometimes you want to paste a whole line, and I actually don't paste or copy and paste individual things like this too often. I tend to copy and paste an entire line. So what I do is I don't select anything on here, and I just hit Control C or Command C, and that secretly behind the scenes copies the whole line. And then I hit Command V or Control V as in violet, and you can just hit paste over and over and over again, and it will select all of that spacing plus the new line for you. So what I can do is I can go up here, outdent, indent, delete, and I just hit delete there. Another thing I like to do is when I'm on a line, if I want to delete the whole line, just because my fingers tend to shift towards the left side of my keyboard a little bit more, I will hit Command X or Control X to delete an entire line. So let's say I wanted to delete line 27 here. I can just hit Control X. I don't have any character selected. If you have a character selected and you delete it, it's just going to cut that text out. So let's Control Z or Command Z to undo, and Control or Command X. Don't have anything highlighted here, just Control or Command X on this entire line. And it cuts that entire line, and then I can paste it over and over and over again. One more thing I really like to do is, if I'm on a line, if I'm in the middle of a line and I want to delete it, I'll just hit Command X or Control X and it deletes the whole line for me. Occasionally I don't want to do that. Occasionally I want to Shift, Alt, and then select multiple words, and then I can just hit delete and delete all of it all at once. And the nice thing about that is you're just hitting Shift, Alt, left, 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 and that deletes or selects all of it, and then you can just delete it. Instead of doing delete, 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 it's just less keystrokes that way. Last but not least, I briefly went over this. Control Z or Command Z or Z is going to be your best friend, and this simply undoes something. So if I went in here and I accidentally somehow deleted this and I don't remember what was in there, file.ent. I don't know what's going on there. I can always just hit Command Z to undo my latest work. And you can keep doing that over and over and over again. So I'm just going to keep hitting Command Z, and you can see all the things that I've been doing in this video already. Last but not least, sometimes I like to go into split screen mode. So I click this split editor, and this allows me to, well, if I open up another file here, if I open up env.example, I can close that down, and I can have my Python file on the left, and I can have my .env file on the right. So if I'm reading through this code and I'm like, the Twilio SID is the config Twilio SID, what is that? I can look right over here. Twilio SID is AC and then a bunch of stars. And if you ever want to close it, you can just close all the files inside of that split, and it goes back to normal. And you can split multiple times too if you want to, just like this. That gets a little bit hard. I actually don't split more than once just because I like a lot of real estate. I don't like my editor looking too crowded, especially once you add a terminal to it. It starts to look like there's a lot in there.